We are going to talk about ensuring voucher access for youth, a coordinated strategy to prevent youth homelessness in our city. So somewhere tonight, there's a child that is packing their belongings in a black trash bag, not because they have somewhere to go, but simply because they don't have anywhere to go. And it don't necessarily have to be that way. So our research discovered that currently there are about 500 foster youth enrolled in Dayton Public Schools. And of those 500 foster youth, 400 have been identified as experiencing homelessness. And within that 400, a lot of them are spread out across group homes in the Dayton area. So there is a family unification program, which is a federally funded program through HUD, which provides Section 8 vouchers for two subsets. Youth that are 18 to 24 that are leaving foster care, and families that are involved in the child welfare situation that are at risk of being separated because of housing issues. The problem that we've identified is those vouchers that have been set aside for the family unification program are not fully being utilized. So of the 129 family unification vouchers that are allocated, 47% of those vouchers went unutilized, which meant that those available resources did not reach the youth that it should have went to. So the core issues that we found out during our research is that between the major organizations that work together to get these vouchers utilized, there's fragmented coordination between those agencies, which means there are not standard procedures set in place on how to process those vouchers in the most efficient manner. Additionally, all of the agencies deal with staff turnover. So when the staff do turn over within those agencies, it creates a lag in the process of getting those vouchers again to the families that need them. There's a lack of referrals and documentations, and there is no lead organization on the coordination of the vouchers. So Greater Dayton Premier Management as an organization does administer the vouchers, but there is no lead organization that steps in and say, hey, this is the process, this is how you do it, this is how it should be done. So I'm going to pass things over to Laura, and she'll talk about the key partners.
So our proposed solution is to develop formal MOUs and create a committee structure for these agencies: Greater Dayton Premier Management, Children's Services, Dayton Public Schools, and youth impacted by homelessness and/or the foster care system. These are the stakeholders that we need at the table to be able to utilize every voucher that's in our community. This committee should review utilization data, identify barriers, clarify roles and responsibilities, and they should document processes to ensure continuity despite staff turnover. And the desire to collaborate is there. Every stakeholder we spoke with wants a more efficient and effective solution. One thing we heard over and over again in our conversations was the need for checklists to help Children's Services staff help the youth fill out the FUP voucher application. These checklists could be created as part of the work of this committee. We also recommend that the Public Housing Authority lead the committee, and we recommend that they train multiple staff members so that when there is staff turnover within the program, there's someone there to lead it. We also recommend that each agency develop a single source of truth document so that any new staff can be brought up to speed quickly and that no resources go unutilized. Next slide. We also learned in our research that transition planning should start well before the age of 17, ideally between the ages of 14 and 16. And their transition plans should be reviewed every 6 months to adapt to the teens' needs and preferences. When we coordinate, we can fully utilize every voucher available to our community. Our proposal is to go from informal coordination to formal collaboration. And now Darshan will explain what success looks like.
So, as you guys see, a stable foundation for success.
Just hold it.
A stable foundation for success looks like reduced mobility and fewer school disruptions, improve health and emotional stability, increase attendance and graduation rates, for the students, full utilization and federal funding, and shift from crisis response to proactive system coordination for the students. And at this moment, we'll take your questions.
Did you guys find in any of your research, any of the federal funding dropping off the amounts? Did you all?
Not that has been made to the public of anything.
I mean, but that's the risk, right? Is if you do not use, you do not get in the future. So it's a really critical issue because we know that we already don't have enough regular Section 8 vouchers available. So we certainly do not want to lose the ones that are available to our youth who are trying to transition into adulthood. It's a really critical age, and it is not ideal that the numbers are what they are.
So I'm sorry. Does the voucher process, application process, does that start at the central office in the school district or where?
So it should start with the child's caseworker, but DPS does have transition coordinators that also help with this. One thing that I think could benefit all of the agencies and groups working together, is that committee structure and also a data sharing agreements. I felt like which we know is harder than reality. I'm sitting there well, do we have this number? Do we have that number? And it's maybe it's not quite as easy to pool right now. We should know what kids are turning 15, 16, when do we need to start their plan? But that kind of stuff wasn't readily available. It's also not shared. So those are the types of things that we would like to see worked on in this.
And additionally, with having members from DPS, Greater Dayton Premier Management, and Children's Services coming together formally, it would create the environment to where a representative from DPS, whether McKinney-Vento or the different organizations that they, departments rather, that they have that deal with it, could just simply say, hey, I have a student that, is getting ready to transition out. Are there any vouchers that are available for them? Just having those three teams sitting together, it allows them to solve problems, come up with solutions for the issues with housing. Yes.
I have a question because I didn't write fast enough. You had 4 MOU groups. It was Children's Services, Greater Dayton Premier Management, EPS, and there was a 4th one that was a red Y, and I didn't get
It wasn't actually an agency. It was just we're trying to emphasize that youth should be involved in these decisions, and they should be at the table for programs that are impacting their lives.
So currently, how are families? How do they find out about the vouchers? Is that a breakdown in the system? That part I don't understand.
So, honestly, they find out about them from Children's Services. So that would be the organization that identifies, the child or the family that's in need, and can be able to say oh, you know what? I think a voucher, FUP voucher, would benefit you guys the most. We did learn through our research with Children's Services that a voucher is not always the best solution. So there's other programs that might benefit, because with Children's Services, their solution is to not only make sure that the children are housed, but to make sure that they are living a productive life, so to say. So if they're not necessarily in the position to maintain a home or things like that, FUP voucher wouldn't necessarily be the best route. They might want to go with the Bridges program. So it does take a little bit of assessment between the families or the child to understand exactly where they are and what they can mentally handle. We all know that having a home requires a thought process behind it as well.
Just out of curiosity, do we have enough Section 8 housing for all these vouchers if we were to utilize all of them?
Well, as a
I
landlord
thought so.
liaison for Greater Dayton Premier Management, I would say that we are always looking for new landlords and housing. So,
It's a good PR response.
to answer that question, not necessarily, no. We currently have a wait list that hasn't even been pulled yet that has about 4,000 families on it. So there is a need that, I mean, it could get to the point that even with a voucher, they couldn't find housing.
Yeah.
But the solution we also talked about was, you know, pitching ideas for new housing developments around that.
Yes, so we had, just to add on to that, this was like one bottleneck, right? We had 5 minutes up here. But yeah, there were a lot of other solutions out there that we looked at, the little community of tiny homes that's being built for the homeless population that wants to live in community. It's like, could we have like a similar thing, but for targeted youth? So yeah, I didn't have time to get into all the layers, but appreciate the question.
Ms. White?
So,
Ms. White?
you had said earlier that the counselors are the ones that, the caseworkers. So, are they communicating that with the school counselors?
Not necessarily.
So is that something that maybe, like getting that information to them, that would be beneficial?
Yes, but I mean, it's not, I believe that the referral comes from Children's Services. So although DPS is a person who touches the kids, who can identify, they know like this child is homeless, the referral would still need to go through Children's Services as to why.
So there's not a way that DPS can, because, and maybe Thea can answer that question. Like DPS knows which kids in their building are homeless or,
Correct.
Whatever. So is there not a way that they can compile a list, where they would say, hey, these kids are getting to the point where, they're about to graduate or they're becoming of age.
Is there a way?
I think that's what the transition coordinators are supposed to help with the DPS, and their positions are only a couple of years old, based on what they shared with us. So I think they're
Still working through that.
but they do communicate with Children's Services, and have some connection, but a more formal agreement and really like partnership, and like Greater Dayton Premier Management is a big piece of that, right? And not having the staff capacity there has been a real challenge for those folks to work effectively.
What about?
We're going to take a question from Ms. White, please.
There is great value in the county commissioners who are the policymakers and have oversight over Children's Services to hear your proposal and your support. Oftentimes, it's people sitting at that level who have not gotten into the trenches, with the data and to realize what is actually being implemented in the practicality of, the policies or lack thereof, the lack of implementation. So I really do think there's great value in your presentation going forward to the county commissioners.
Thank you. Yes.
What about the children who are homeless that don't have a Children's Services case though? Because we do have that in place.
That is one of the many cracks that are trying to get filled, but
Yeah, we did talk to Children's Services about the issue of the child being in a group home here in Dayton, but their caseworker is in Columbus, and that disconnect. Like, it's not a local person, it can be even harder to make those connections.
and those are all cracks that create the bigger problem.
What I'm saying is some of our unhoused families are not involved with Children's Services
Right.
altogether, not even coming from someplace. So
So that's where that transition coordinator at DPS is really valuable.
And we haven't identified any other referral agencies, so anybody other than Children's Services that can identify and give a voucher referral.
In your research, did you find anything relating to the students who are eligible, who are college bound rather, who are eligible for McKenzie Vento, and when they get to that college, the college works with them to make sure that they have a room during the summer, a room during the break, et cetera, as long as they're actively enrolled? Did you find out any information about that?
Nope. Yeah, that was an alley that we didn't
It's a big problem.
merge down, but that's a really good thought.
A lot of them have.
Yes.
We were curious for the transition coordinator that you spoke to. Is there one at every building, or are they like allocated throughout the district? Is there just one?
We met two.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think they met at Muggo. Not interesting.
Yeah.
I
So
can find
2
some
for 400
information.
children. 400, so 2 for 400 students, roughly?
Well, and
That we
that
know of.
didn't,
Yeah.
but that didn't include the staff of McKinney-Vento, the
Oh,
department
okay.
of McKinney-Vento and
Yeah.
everything that they do. But I'm sure that they work together,
Yeah.
but I don't know how well.
And they work with the building
Yes.
personnel too, you know,
Yes.
that whole process, because the folk in the building, you know
Knows,
what,
yes.
what's going on, and
Yes.
so, you know, they can work with that, McKinney-Vento team down here.
Is there anyone doing this well already? Like, do you see, like, out of the vouchers that are being used, is there like certain caseworkers, like, they know about this and like, they're always, or an organization even?
It's being done in a way, but like the caseworkers are somewhat overwhelmed. They may have too many students that they're taking care of. And then, like you said, Ms. Portilla, with those, it's just trying to get that bridge and establish a bridge where they can access the vouchers and get the assistance that they need to be able to have a progressive transition from high school or foster care or these other programs or systems that they may have already been a part of, so.
Is there a connection to Daybreak in the circular, yes, is there a connection to Daybreak in any of this?
Yes. I had a few conversations with students, one male and female, and it's bureaucracy to them. It's a program where it's slow. They would like to get on their own and get out of the system where they're not stagnated and not getting stuck in the wrong kind of systematic habits that they adapt. You know, whether that's hanging out littering downtown or not being as focused as they need to be within the transition from high school or, you know, like someone mentioned with college or transitioning with all that. It's just that,
Yeah, and I
the
think,
students have a lot of distractions, but at the same time, they tell me it's there, it's not being utilized, they haven't heard of it, and those resources need to be verbal, but also obtainable on paper and in actions. Yes.
yeah, and one thing we talked about too is like, this is a starting point, like the list of, like, we talked about the referral pipelines, like that list could get a lot bigger, like Daybreak should probably have a seat at the table on this committee. So if you think about it in like building block terms, that would be a logical next partner.
Any more questions?
How many Bridges facilities are in the area? Do we know? Because those are like kind of independently run, right? Like they get approved
That
through
I'm
the
not
state.
sure,
Okay.
yeah.
We just knew of
But
the
that's-
program.
Yeah.
Yeah, the feedback we kind of got from Children's Services was that they would ideally like teens to move into Bridges as like a starting point because they get more resources than
Yeah.
just a standalone
Yeah.
voucher. But then the voucher can be that next step after Bridges because Bridges only goes up to 22,
Yeah.
and then the voucher could get them to 24.
Just FYI, April 9th at 2:30 at the Employment Center on 3rd Street, there's going to be a meeting on youth homes with the school district personnel, the
Yes.
superintendent, representatives from several government municipalities, just FYI.
Thank you. Thank you.